All right, so the point I'm trying to make is that the lunar and solar eclipse energy, solar eclipse in Scorpio, lunar eclipse in Taurus, are the big theme. And this new and full moon, fits deeply into the bigger theme that is this lunar and solar eclipse. And I want to highlight that because the solar eclipse was giving us the awareness to look at all of the things emotionally and psychologically that we are still feeling disempowered by, right? Whatever that may be, any underlying psychological patterns that we may carry that are getting in the way of the things that we want to transcend or transform in our lives. This solar eclipse energy was helping us become aware of the parts of us that are still not living fully, right? This is a key word here, not living fully, right? So I talked about the specters, right? The ghosts of the past. Okay. All right, so the lunar eclipse was in Taurus we may not know or see the parts of ourselves that cover up the sensitive or wounded or shameful pieces, right? So the lunar eclipse was very much going, hey, one of the things that prevents you from freeing yourself of the energy that is dead, right? The energy that has removed the spark of life from you, is that it can be shrouded in an underlying sense of shame, right? Or anything that we've internalized that rejects it. So the wounded parts of ourselves that are rejected, the darkness in us that has been rejected, we keep it at bay. And the lunar eclipse was saying, hey, this is what has been done. The solar eclipse says, if you look at these things and welcome them in without being scared, there's a profound sense of transformation. So that leads us into this conversation today with the full moon in Leo. Okay. All right. So Aquarius. Okay. In this imagery here, what I want to put across is that for most of us, we see this urn or this water, this pot, pouring water, or however you wish to, whatever different types of ways that you've heard Aquarius describe it, you're pouring water into the collective consciousness, right? Or it's the collective consciousness being poured into it. And in many parts, that is true. But I want to take a little bit of a different approach to this. I want to refer to this and this imagery more as when we go through life, there are going to be experiences that we're going to have where more than what we are capable of understanding, okay, will come into our awareness. So it will be like we are flooded with more content from our unconscious into the conscious sense of ourself. So what that means is that we can experience a moment where we are taken up by something, right? Or we're in a really frustrated space, and our emotions take hold of us, and we get caught up in a picture that is bigger than what we are able to hold within that moment. And so the energy of Aquarius is also a lot of information coming through from the unconscious into our awareness in the moment, and our sense of identity, the ego structure, it overflows that, right? It overpowers that. It's like too much electricity coming into the bulb at one time and then the bulb breaks. So with Aquarius, there is a process of acceleration, right? Something accelerates faster than what we are currently experiencing. And that acceleration leads us to breaking out of a mold, right? Breaking out of a pattern, breaking out of structures, if you want to say it like that. So in terms of Aquarius, in terms of our lives, right? Each and every one of us throughout our lives would have gone through some experience that was a lot to deal with in that moment, okay? It doesn't matter what it is, but you'd be able to, if you look back at your life, you'll see sort of moments where there is a kind of rupture, right? An experience that was far greater than your capacity to know the totality of it. And so what happens to us is that through these experiences, whether it be that you want to, you want to be a creative, writer, for instance, and somebody comes to you and says, this piece of work is terrible. You should not become this. And we internalize that experience as something that hinders our ability to shine. Okay? So that's one example. Another example is that, let's say we're caught up in some form of deep emotional turmoil. It's your first relationship, something bad happens, and the rapture takes place, and it fragments you. Okay, whatever that may be, right? So there are many examples of this, but the idea here presented is that throughout our life, we're going to go through experiences that will be more than what we understand in the moment, and that creates a kind of fracturing. So this type of fracturing, what it does is it leads parts of us to split off. Okay, so if we take a look at this imagery over here in the chart, because this is the chart of the full moon in Leo, there are three arrows that I'm pointing to. I'm going to sidetrack a little bit over here. Okay, so one of them is, you can see Pluto, Mercury, and in evolutionary astrology, Pluto, Mercury is what is called a balsamic phase. It's a closing phase relationship, right? So something is ending here. I'm pointing to Venus in Pisces, and Venus, of course, the piece that is how we relate to life, right? It's our relationship dynamics, how we meet our essential needs. This is in the constellation Pisces. It's moving through Pisces, and it will eventually hit Neptune. Okay, and then finally, I'm pointing to Mars in Gemini here. Okay, so this will be the context for today's conversation. And so I just put this chart over here just so that you can see the symmetry of it. Okay. All right. From here, I want to then take us to this. Okay. So this aspect between Sun, Saturn, Chiron, and Aries is what I'm referring to when I talk about the experiences that we've had in our lives where something that is profound, something that is overwhelming, something that has been fracturing in some way, to create an acceleration, right? Aquarius will always bring an experience forward to us that will change the pattern eventually for something good, right? If we can integrate it. So it's not always it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the nature of how things will erupt from our unconscious into our conscious space. But these two aspects over here refer to or point to the collective ability to heal from experiences that our loss of agency has occurred, right? So where we feel stuck, where we feel bound by, where we feel trapped in, okay? So as I said again, the Aquarius energy, something comes rushing into the surface, it's too much to handle, it fractures ourselves, and without any picking up the pieces and reintegrating, we become frozen in those spaces, and they leave us with the wound of lack of agency, right? We get stuck in that space. So we'll call this disassociation, okay? Where then when you work with people that have got severe PTSD, or people, all of us in some way that have got some form of emotional fracturing, we will essentially try to disassociate from that. We'll detach from that piece. And part of detachment is not being emotionally present within the body. Okay, so this Aquarius piece over here, these energies, is the first step in this story that I'm bringing across, is that we are going to come into a world, and part of being human is interacting with all the things that are going to be tough to deal with, right? And some of those experiences are going to be fracturing to us, right? Fracturing to our capacity for connection, to feel as if we are alive. And for a lot of people in the world right now, like, the world is either full of creative expression and the realization that you're free that you can create, that you're part of something bigger, or there is a part of you, or a way in which there is a complete limitation. There is a complete absence of life. It's just dreary and loss of meaning. So the piece here with this energy, this aspect here, is pointing towards the potential for humanity to heal our sense of independent self, right? This is the Chiron in Aries. So healing the independent self. What I mean by that is your internal self, okay? So The effect of fracturing creates or leaves us with emotional regression, okay? So we can remain stunted in experiences. We can remain fractured in those places. And that loss of life, that loss of agency withers our ability to believe in ourselves again, to believe in the possibility to achieve things, right? Let's say you have a traumatic experience that stops you from going to a certain place. And every time somebody reminds you of that place, your inner psyche just like withers away. It like regresses into a more primitive state. It's like, oh, I can't go there, right? Nervous system goes out of whack. And depending on the severity of the fracturing can reflect how much of ourselves are split apart. So when we go through these experiences, we're going to have these tendencies or these parts of ourselves that are going to be hidden, right? We're going to hide them away because we're afraid of being re-hurt, right? There was something that was vulnerable, there was something that was intense, whatever that may be. Okay. So if you look at this chart over here, the arrows are pointing to Mercury in Capricorn. Remember, Mercury is right next to Pluto. You can see Neptune there at 23 degrees of Pisces, and you can see the North Node there at 7 degrees of Taurus. And the reason why I brought up these symbols is because, remember, the lunar eclipse was in Taurus, the solar eclipse is in Scorpio, and that lunar solar energy was the transformation, or like a regeneration. And part of that regeneration meant being able to look at the parts of ourselves that have been hidden away, right? Where you had to put aside whatever it was that was true for you, or what was authentic for you, or that you could feel alive or creative. And throughout our lives, we would have picked up experiences that would have told us that these parts were not able to be free, essentially, right? So they become hidden. And so what we do is we develop stories. We develop stories and messages that are bound in these experiences that will sound like fear, that will sound like doubt, that will sound like, what happens if that, it's something negative, right? It reinforces the pattern that here you are essentially frozen, here you are lifeless, here you are absent of meaning. And the idea here with this full moon in Leo is essentially to be able to look at the pieces that have been frozen in time, the parts of ourselves that are reminded consistently through messaging that this is something that's not good, and that we are stuck in those spaces. And so if you want more integration of yourself, you would want to look at these pieces that have needed to be sidelined, hidden, put away, or frozen, whatever that may be. And that's a tough thing. Like that's not easy, what I'm sharing here, okay? So in this picture over here, the regression is where we stay small, right? You stay small. You don't want to achieve your dreams, right? A lot of people will want to go ahead and become an astrologer, or they want to create YouTube videos, or they want to go and do something on Instagram, or they want to pursue something that's their dream. And the message says, don't do that. The message says, what happens if you fail? The message says, you're not good enough. And so eventually over a period of time, we just become smaller and smaller, right? We regress, we wither into this tree, or the absence of life. Okay, so what is the solution, right? What's the action? How do you work forward with this? And so here's the message of the full moon in Leo, which is that being human at its core is this emotional journey that we're on, right? That's why I chose the fingerprint here and the red. And it's the sense that each of us has this, we have these unique stories. We have these unique experiences that are specific to us, right? And if you look at that image there as well, one of the reasons why I chose it was there's lots of stress lines, and there's lots of parts of ourselves. Like life is not just linear in its way. Life is, we're going to have bumps and bruises and experiences that are going to hurt us. We're going to have experiences that will feel joyful, and other ones that are going to, remind us of the struggle or the suffering or the challenges. And that's being human. And part of that process is developing that resilience, right? Resilience to those experiences. That's what Aquarius and Leo ultimately allows us to experience, is that we're going to have a rupture, right? Nobody will be able to go through life without some form of event that will feel overwhelming and challenging and difficult. And it's our capacity to have resilience in those places that allows us to repair from those experiences, which gives us wisdom and what it means to be human. And so a big part of this energy is looking at the parts that at the time you maybe didn't have the tools or didn't know what emotional resilience was, or the capacity to bounce back from something. And depending on the nature of the experience, bouncing back is not something is like I should bounce back. It's more like the capacity to slowly walk towards regenerating whatever that experience was. And those experiences in lives can vary. Like the loss of a parent, for instance, or a child, for instance, as opposed to, a conflict with somebody in the supermarket, for instance, varies, right? The repair is different. But the idea is to walk towards the Leo archetype. And so the opening up piece here is actually got to do with this picture again. The same thing, right? There's a binary. We have the capacity with Mercury sextiling Neptune on the North Node here with the South Node for us to begin, and this is a big piece that I think for me and for a lot of people are learning, is that why do you go to some form of therapy? Why do you have friends in your life? Why do you have somebody that's very close that you can trust? Why do you open up to the deeper parts of yourself? And that's because when you are able to express these experiences, when you're able to vocalize them, to voice them, to allow them to be processed out loud, it gives you the capacity to work on those inner experiences. This is the Leo piece. It's the capacity to validate one's existence, to be in touch with one's experience. See, for most of us, we live in that Aquarius piece of detachment. And the piece here, the message here, potentially with this full moon, is that if you want to bring more joy and love and creative and potential and to be whatever it is that you dream of being in your life, Saturn coming into Pisces soon, part of that means connecting to your heart. And that heart is going to have bumps and bruises. And it's the ability to be able to return to a realization that even though that heart has been hurt, it doesn't mean that you have to completely just run around opening it, because that's the wisdom of it. But it does mean that you can still open up and allow those pieces, those shards, those experiences to be processed through. And it's the act of doing that is the key, right? So opening up slowly to somebody that you can trust, that you can talk about it. I read this this comment in one of these videos I was watching, and it said, why do people go to therapy? And it said that because they get the opportunity to explain their life to themselves. And when I heard that, I was just like, wow. Imagine if you could be in a dialogue with yourself where you could go throughout your life and explain the experiences that happen to you, to yourself. Not only is that a profound, like to me, it's such a profound self-awakening experience, because this is your journey. You're connecting to something that's deeply subjective and deeply part of what you own, and can oftentimes be, 80% of the time, be difficult to connect with and share with other people, because it's yours. And along that journey, you're going to have lots of joy and lots of pain and lots of sadness and lots of excitement. And all of those fluctuating emotional experiences is what makes us human. And Aquarius is very much about humanity. The idea here is that humanity is not rooted in, the greater good of humanity. It means what it means to be human, right? And so there's a piece in this messaging here of reuniting, returning to that inner space. And that Leo energy gives us the opportunity to self-verify and self-validate the inner experience that is of ourselves, and to connect with that space. And so that cultivates a deeper self-realization, including when rapture takes place, because Aquarius is bringing things from the unconscious to the conscious. So what is there in the deeper realms that tells you about the story that you have? Okay. So Mercury-Pluto balsamic phase conjunction connected to Neptune in Pisces is the capacity here, to look at the stories that we may hold and we tell ourselves, right? The perceptions that we hold that keep us potentially trapped or stuck or frozen. And you want to examine these experiences, you want to examine these stories, and then eventually come to a place where you can start to look at how the messaging, the internal language, does dictate and influence a great way of your perception. So this full moon is also encouraging and helping us realize that we are also at a culminating phase around the internalized messaging and perceptions that we hold that may no longer actually be true anymore. And Pluto is here to say, hey, I can eliminate these things. Pluto is also saying that I will bring you to the depths of your being to be able to have access to those parts that at a deeper core level are held, right? What beliefs do we hold? So, resurrection, right? And so powerful, resurrection, right? The capacity to resurrect from the experiences in our lives that have been painful, that have been sometimes and oftentimes we've just become dead to it, right? We've become numbed out to it. And the whole point of living and being human is to experience the wide array of emotional dynamics. What's it like to feel jealous? What's it like to feel excited? What's it like to feel sad? What's it like to have grief? All of these different stages brings the journey of the emotional, of the being. And along the road, we will have experiences that will jolt us, Aquarius, and that will keep us in a space of hunched over. And the idea here with resurrection is to come back out. And so the Leo archetype says, who are we when we come back out? How can we come back and open that heart again? So resurrection is the ability to, again, like I said, look at those messagings that are holding us back, to open up and tell the stories, to find somebody that you can share time with and share and validate and express all of the different types of emotions you're going through. Like, wow, I'm really excited for tomorrow's XYZ, or in a week's time, I've booked a small little vacation and it's so good to just have some time off. Or, hey, you know, I'm reaching out to you. I'm going through a bit of grief right now and I just want somebody to talk to. Is that something that's possible? And the person will say, yeah, absolutely. And you can just share what is going on internally. Because a big part of the human experience right now is the capacity to come in contact with the stories that we have and to share them, right? To see what actually we are all going through. Because a lot of us have lost the ability to connect with the fact that each and every single one person that is here is going through something. And we don't know how to speak. We don't know how to talk about those things. We don't know how to recognize and value those experiences as being real for us. And that part of the capacity for liberation is the ability to connect with those spaces and then also have them come out, right? Okay. So here you have Sun, Moon, 16 degrees Aquarius, Leo, and they're squaring the nodes of, they're squaring the nodes and they're also squaring Uranus. And Uranus is on the North Node, right? So the emphasis here is that a few things. One, we're coming into the body. And as we come into the body, we come into a state of being with ourselves. We want to become alive. That's what the lunar eclipse is showing us, like this capacity to come back alive, to restart the body, to restart our connection with mind, body, and spirit. So ultimately, resurrection is held within the healing of our inner world and what I've just shared right now. Okay. So that is what I perceive and sense a big part of this message is about. That's where my inspiration lies, something that I feel both me and Jen have been excited to want to share. And so, yeah, I hope that that lands well with you and that you can take something from what I've shared with you today and that it gives you something to work with over the next couple of days with this new moon and full moon energy present with us. All right. So I'm going to take a look at the chat right now and I'll sit around and chat to a few people, answer some questions maybe. Yeah, so I'll do that. Okay. Hey Monica, how's it going? Sid, Adrian, you still there? Hey Sherry. Hey Teresa. Pluto 1957, Pluto Virgo. Yes. Okay. So anybody but got some questions for me? I'd happy to share spend some time with you for a bit. Also, I just want to say, if you are at a place where you want some deep soul work, you're ready to do some deeper soul work, we will put a link in the description to have a free 15-minute call with me to see if there's an opportunity to work with you. Let's check out and see if you've got what your needs are, and if you're in a position to commit for a period of time. And yeah, if you want to go deeper into your soul's journey, I want to have a talk with you, see if that's possible, see if I can help you out. And if there is, then yeah, we'll get into some really deep work with you. I'm really excited about these. I've been working with people for a long time around this, and it is definitely something that is bringing a lot of joy because we get to really sit with the soul's journey. So I'll put a link in the description. It's a free 15-minute call. Either me or a member on my team will be able to take the call. We'll get in contact with what it is that you really are working through. And like I said, if there's an opportunity to work with you and help you in that way, we will, okay? All right. All right, let's see. Happy full moon. Cool. So any questions? One or two, I'm here. I'm psyched. This is Monica. I'm psyched because I finally integrated myself with communities. No more pain. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. It's been an illumination for me how strong I have become and have become a pillar of strength for those around me, empowering, liberating. That's amazing. That's a really good question. Yes, I think that the tension, because, yeah, I do think so. The sort of full moon is landing and activating what is called the planetary nodes of Neptune, although the planetary nodes are more sort of like 9 degrees. Planetary nodes of Neptune are more 9 degrees of Aquarius and Leo. These are actually activating the planetary nodes. So the collective, this is a collective story. That's what I'm saying. This is something that we all share. We all come into this world. We all have had experiences that have closed our hearts down. And the idea here is to really look at those experiences and see if you can reintegrate or resurrect the parts that have been wounded back into yourself and turn them from innocence to experience, essentially. That's right, Sid. Planetary nodes, exactly. Sherry, your son is getting married in March. Powerful. Congratulations. I'm sure that's a big day for you. And you're excited at it. Karen, this moon conjunct my natal north node. What does that mean? Well, I would say that the message of today's full moon carries a very specific tone to it, topic, message. So I would say, what is it that in your life you are currently going through that a reminder to bring yourself to the party is the way that you unlock some of the challenges that you experience in life. I mean, South Node and Aquarius, for instance, would imply that somebody has had a lot of rupture and change take place. So where have you felt disjointed or dysregulated or fractured in some ways? And how can you repair some of these experiences so that you can move forward with the wisdom that often comes along with strong Aquarius and Uranian experiences? Leo stellium in the 4th house and Pluto in Scorpio. Bit of an emotional full moon this one, I bet. I agree, it's been one of the benefits of doing the work too, to help others in order to myself. Yep, Victoria. Good question, Amy. Okay, Amy. Hey, Amy. Okay, hi, yes. I have a question. Does this full moon trine Chiron and Aries connect at all to the Aries season will look like? Yes, it does. And the piece that I suppose I can add to this was that a lot of this energy right now is pushing towards freedom and liberation, right? Jupiter's in Aries, Chiron is in Aries. There's a very clear message here for us, for human beings, that we can embark on something completely new. And so part of that means integrating a new way of doing things, right? So you can see this. There's a very clear distinction between the world that feels outdated and a world that says you have to do things a different way in order for things to change. So individually, what have we come up to that we've realized can't work anymore and that we need to do something new? And in terms of the collective and this whole energy trining Aries, Well, the message is clear here, right? If we are to move forward with something, if you are to change something, you have to first let go of what it is that you're still holding on to that is part of the past. And in this case, it's very distinct. It's like Mars in Gemini, Mercury balsamic to Pluto. Things are culminating, right? Things are closing. And specifically, this is the type of messaging, the type of myths, the type of stories that we carry with us that keep us frozen, distracted, disconnected, unable to see that new change as possibility. All right. Yes, I know. Yes, that is true, Mohammed. There are some really tough things happening over there at the moment, and it's true. Like this type of energy can push things to the surface, especially with Aries energy. And so yeah, I hope that I hope that you're safe and that things stay safe for you at least. And that would be a great example of what I'm referring to, right? In terms of Muhammad's reality, or I hope I'm Mahmud. Sorry, the screen's a bit bad. Apologies for my pronunciation, but that would be an Aquarius theme, right? You're on that edge there. It's like you know that something's going to rupture. Something is going to happen where the tension that is held beneath the surface, Aquarius, is going to come to the surface and create dysregulation and fragmentation. So the idea here really is that we are very sensitive to things that can just change and it can cause disruption. The idea with the Aquarius energy, the Leo energy at least, is that all of those things that have been repressed, all of those things that have been put aside, that have been like pushed down, there is an absence of Leo. There's an absence of the things that really happened. So think of it like this, right? Sometimes in your life, at some point, you would have said, that's not fair, right? And if you analyze what you mean when you say that's not fair, most of the time you'll find out that you felt like you were missing out on something, wherever that may be, right? Or or something happened and you felt like you got the shortest side of the stick. The Aquarius piece that I'm referring to here is that experience happened to you and it's real for you and it's some form of emotional feeling it's associated with it. Now, if it doesn't get processed through, or if it doesn't come back to the surface and reintegrated, it will stay passive in a negative energy that will eventually then instruct all of your actions and interactions because that negative energy is pulsating through. So this energy is really, this full moon energy is the capacity to look at that more charged energy and try to start to understand it and share the story of it. Like in the past, I experienced a lot of things happen to me that I felt robbed me of something. And so I'm more sensitive to things happening in my life where if something gets taken away, it's going to trigger that unconscious memory. This is what I'm talking about here. It's like you've got to address and look at what is it that was important to you that at a time was too difficult to process through, whatever that may be. It's now remained hidden and it's being pushed to the surface, and you have to give a voice to that. You have to give a voice to the human experience. You have to give a voice to the thing that is the human experience, whatever that is. So take a diary, take a voice note, recorder, whatever it is, write it, talk to somebody, but at least do me a favor and voice at least two things that you carry with you that at some point were difficult and now you're trying to free yourself from. Okay? Monica, rocking up and showing up. I appreciate you lots, as always, you know that. And congratulations to you, by the way. You did some really, really amazing stuff in Boston, so you should be proud of yourself. You did that work. You know exactly what I'm talking about with this Aquarius energy. Voice memos are so handy. Oh my gosh. Okay. What's the time? How long have we been live for? 50 minutes. Okay, so I think we'll, yeah, Pluto's been back and forth with my Chiron for a few years. Totally Pleionic karmic adjustments times. I mean, yeah, Pluto on your Chiron. Okay. Amy, did I answer the question? Did you hear what I had shared about the answer? Amy, I just want to know if Okay. Yes, it is absolutely a gripping show, this world. Okay. Let me know if I answered your question, by the way, Amy. A little bit more time for some questions. Anybody got some questions for me? Very true. Reading, I'm writing a novel inspired by the harsh reality of the world we live in. Go for it. That's amazing. You got an Aquarius stellium with the Sun, Saturn, Venus, Mercury in the 11th house, and your 5th house, Leo rising. I feel homecoming. Wicked. I like that, Marissa. I'm glad that you are experiencing something positive. Claudia, wow, thank you so much, Claudia. I appreciate you lots. That's amazing. Do you have a question for me that I can share with you? I appreciate your super chat a lot. It's good now, Claudia, much less inner heart pain. Nice to connect. Do you have a question for me? Maybe I missed it already, Claudia. But if you did, 50 minutes did flow by. You flow by? Literally. Flow by. Okay. Hold on. Yes. Okay, you do. There we go. Second Saturn return made me very strong, helped me connect with others' plight and pain. That's beautiful. Through the deepest... Okay, let me just move this overlay over here. Deepest exploration of self I've ever gone through. So much grief. Holy hell, it's been hard. And you are here. And that's the thing that's so beautiful about the Aquarius Leo axis, is that you went through all of these things that it means to be human. You stayed open as much as you could to the capacity that you could, and you came out the other side. And there was a TV show that I watched, that I finished yesterday. And one of the coolest things that I heard, and it deeply connects to the Virgo process, is the transition from innocence to experience. So we come into this world and there's this innocence about us, right? How could something so evil do something to a child, for instance, right? The child is innocence. We're innocent. We're naturally inherently innocent, Neptune. And as we go through our first losing of the tooth, our first time that our mom gets upset with us, the first time we have a heartbreak, the first time we lose our teddy bear, right? We have to throw it out, we grow out. The first sort of, like I said, relationship in teenager, the first conflicts that we have with our parents, the first rejection that we have, like all of these experiences impact our capacity to feel open in innocence. And so as we journey through life, it's a transition from the innocence that's in us to the experience that it means to be human. And so this message in this full moon is the capacity to remain open as much as possible, even though a lot of these experiences or situations will render us to say, nope, it's easy to become cynical, it's easy to close down, it's easy to see everything as negative. And it doesn't mean that this world has got a lot of darkness in it. It just means that if you close your darkness out and get shrouded by it, you will never live the capacity of what is potentially in you. And if there's anything that's more Leonic than like living the potential that is in you, I don't know what is. So, you know, there's that. So thank you for being brave and leading the way, Claudia, in showing us exactly what it means to be Leonic in this Leo Aquarius axis. So you are a living example of it, as well as Monica as well, in terms of I know what she's gone through. If Jupiter is crossing your crossing MC and about to return to 19 degrees, will that be good for rebuilding my self-employment? I mean, absolutely. I would say that Jupiter in the 10th house would imply that there's a desire to want to expand your horizons and move in a new direction. Yeah. Jupiter transits will often ask you to have to go out there and learn something new, or to pick up some form of knowledge or education that allows you to expand that horizon. So it's not something along the lines of like, okay, cool, something cool's coming to me. It's you will be given opportunities to want to expand your horizons, and part of that request from Jupiter is grow in some way, and then apply that growth to be able to then expand your life. Okay. All right. If Jupiter, okay, we were born to reject God, find love, and then realize God is love. Exactly. Exactly. Anna, okay, hi. I'm an Aries with Sun, Taurus ascendant, Pluto in Scorpio 8th house, and Venus in Aquarius. Okay, I feel like I need to make a huge change. How do you see Pluto? How do you see Pluto would affect me? Do you mean the transiting Pluto, or do you mean Pluto in the 8th house for you? Because just a note, anybody that's got wherever Pluto is in your chart, but if you've got Pluto in the 8th house particularly, like a big part of your personal emotional journey is that you will have to confront the things that will feel disempowering to you. So my 2 cents to you, Anna, based on not really seeing your chart that much, is a realization that if you can identify how you're disempowered in these experiences, you need to look at what it is that could empower you. So you need to look at what is an empowering position or perspective you can take, and then go with that. All right. My later lunar node, south node in Scorpio, 12th house, since it came back to Scorpio. Any advice? Okay, so you're having a lunar return. Okay, so if you're having a lunar return in the south node, I mean, I don't know what the karmic story is for you though, Mahmoud, but I would say to you that if you're having a lunar return, what's going to happen is you will have experiences that will give you an idea of what it means to move forward in your life, right? So when you have lunar returns, it's setting the stage for another 19 years of your life. And lunar returns often imply new choices under old circumstances. So you'll have your current life, but you'll have a pressure to want to move forward with something. And you probably will only notice the impact of a lunar return once it's at least 10 degrees 5 to 10 degrees away from the actual conjunction. Okay, so what I mean is that, like, for me, in 2021, I had a lunar return, and it was only sort of like, it's a 16 degrees Gemini, right? North node. So I think it was about like 10 degrees or 9 degrees around about that time, I could start to feel the impact of what was changing in my life. So I would say to you right now, track the transit and give it another like 5 or 6 degrees to be able to know what's really changing in your life. But ultimately, what I would say to you is that whatever it is that you feel that you know you need to do right now, follow that. That's what I'd say. Okay. All right. Ending your first Saturn return by Pluto is creeping up to next over my Aquarius sun. Okay, I feel scared, anxiety, but what has come? All right. Ending your first Saturn return, but Pluto is creeping up in next over my Aquarius. All right. The thing is, though, is that, and this is probably the last question I'll answer today. When the way that you got to think about this, peeps, is that, and this is why I did a series. So if you go to my YouTube channel and you find there's a series of videos, 6 of them, that were designed to help people shift their perspective on looking at their astrology chart from the what is your evolutionary intention. Every transit that you go through, every aspect that you're dealing with is it's a pressure to enact the evolutionary intention that your soul came in to when you were born. So think about it, right? Your natal chart is like this, and then you have the transits, and all the transits represent is what are the evolutionary steps that are happening in the moment with you. So if you have your first Saturn return complete, look at what was taking place in your life. Like, what was happening for you? What did you cut out in your life? What did you change? Then ask yourself the question, with Sun in Aquarius, with Pluto there, Pluto is going to go over your sun sign, and it's going to essentially eliminate anything that is no longer part of your purpose. So you might find that over the next couple of years, Pluto over your sun will eliminate and remove everything that is essentially not who you are, and it will revitalize you. The attempt is to revitalize the sun in your chart, because not every single person is going to have Sun conjunct Pluto. Like for me, as an example, I had Sun conjunct Pluto when I was 2, right? And then that's it. I won't have that transit for the rest of my life. So not everybody will have transits to their moon or transits to other Mars placements. So if you're having Sun-Pluto conjunction, you've got to really understand that Sun aspect in your chart. You've got to know it. And that's what I meant about like deeper work, right? Having readings or consulting astrologers is great. It gives you an understanding of your chart, but you really need to do deeper work to be able to understand the core story that is held in each of our charts. So that's something that's important to look into, is that a lot of us can value things like going on a holiday, but what often can be also deeply empowering is taking a time in your life and really getting into touch with the soul's journey that we each carry with us, so that when we look at our chart, the perspective that we have on it is something along the lines of, okay, I'm having this transit, this is part of the bigger picture, this is what I'm really doing, here's my lessons, and then you can integrate it and move forward. But that's what I see. A lot of us we're trying to make sense of our charts, we're trying to make sense of things, but the core of our story, we don't actually know. And that's what I think we miss out when we have, like, readings, for instance. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's really important to look at deeper, the capacity to look deeper within the core story, so that the rest of the stuff around you can actually make sense. Okay. Oh, Amy, okay, you're responding. Yes, you did. Language did digestibly for me in Astro. Okay, I'm glad. I was just curious because I got the sense that something within this lunar nation was trying to liberate something, perhaps my heart. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly it. And it does correlate to the new the Aries energy. Okay, fantastic. All right, peeps. Thank you very much for hanging out with me today. It was great to be able to sit and just do some astro and do some other stuff. I really hope that you got some value from today's conversation. Thanks very much, Monica and Claudia, for your super chats. I much appreciate you a lot. For those of you that want to do or are interested in doing some deeper work, then I'm going to post a link to sign up and do a free 15-minute call with me or somebody on my team. We'll see if there is a possibility to work with you. We'll check in with your needs. And if there is, fantastic. And if there's not, we'll still be able to give you some direction in what it is that you're currently working through, okay? All right, my friends, thanks very much. Thank you very much. And have a fantastic evening. I keep looking over there because that's the chat. Bye, guys.